Hey everybody, welcome back to our other basketball online coaching clinic. Hope everybody is okay and good to see you again, Coach Mehmet, Fatih Akser. Today we're going to talking about pick and roll teaching progression. So we are with you, Coach. I'm excited and so excited for this session. Let's start it.
Well, thank you very much for having me again. It was a pleasure last time and this time. Today's topic is a very big topic, the pick-and-roll progression. I mean, this pick-and-roll action has been around for a long time. There are a lot of experts out there that would share their knowledge and expertise and talk about X's and O's and everything about roll. Today, what I would like to do is just to show you the way I see pick and roll happening, and the way I teach progression, the pick and roll progression, and how I do with my player. Today's agenda is going to be first asking these questions to ourselves. Why do we want to play pick and roll offense? Then I'm going to move into the history of the pick and roll offense in the modern EuroLeague era, and I'm going to provide a lot of video samples and detailed analysis from the very first time that EuroLeague established in 2008-2009 season all the way to 2018 and 2019 season. Unfortunately, I don't have the necessary amount of data and analytic data to compare this past season because they didn't finish the season yet. So I'm just going to focus on that 10, 11 years of stretch, the first 10 years of stretch. And the topic is going to be shifting towards pick and roll locations and common spacing patterns. The way I see it, the way I look at it as 5 different locations that we usually utilize to start our pick and roll actions. And the way I see it, there are 4 main spacing patterns, and most of the coaches that I am going to provide a lot of video samples to just give you an idea about how those spacing patterns happens, and that there are a lot of different videos from different levels, from the women's EuroLeague, men's EuroLeague, Olympic qualifiers, from the women's Olympic qualifiers, and including Canadian University basketball. I'm going to show you what coaches usually do with those spacing patterns, and I'm going to jump into what are the most common spacing patterns. I'm going to narrow it down into the small sections, the way I see it, at least the popularity wise, and I'm going to give you some video samples from this year's women's EuroLeague games, and all these 4 or 5 stages that I'm going to go through in the beginning of my our meeting is going to set us up. How do we teach pick and roll actions from 1-to-1 to 4-on-4? So I just want to give you the ideas and the way I see the things that are happening at a pick and roll level, and I'm going to go deep down into how I teach from 1-on-1 to 4-on-4. I'm going to give you basic drills. I'm going to demonstrate, go through every single stages, that the way we would like to build our guards and our post players and the players around those 2-on-2 actions. And I'm going to mention about a little bit of a fundamental, a little bit of a read and react situation and decision making drills. And at the end of our meeting, I'm going to show you a lot of video samples, examples from our team, from University of Calgary women's basketball games and men's EuroLeague games and women's Olympic qualifier games, to give you an idea how does it look on 5-on-5 situations in any pick and roll. Now, let's start with the question: why do we want to play pick and roll offense? We all know that the pick and roll action became the genesis of modern offense. It's really hard not to run this particular action with the offensive system anymore. Whatever level you are at, you are going to see a pick and roll action happen. Way back then, 20, 25, 30 years ago, we used to see pick and roll action happen in maybe the last 6 seconds, maybe the last 8 seconds. Now it's just a change. The whole thing has changed. We all know that the pick and roll action forces the defensive team to make a decision on each and every possession. We also know that it causes mismatches which result in matchup problems for the defensive team and a loss of opportunity to score for the offensive team. I think pitching gets defensive players in foul trouble relatively easier compared to non-pick and roll actions. We probably all agree that pick and roll actions forces defenses into continuous rotations and eventually into massive scrambling type of recovery on the defense, which the very first presentation that I had with you guys that I was talking about the closeout situation, this is one of the main action that pick and roll action is used to get those over short closeouts. Which would eventually, of course, the massive scrambling type of recovery defensively would eventually allow offensive team a multitude of offensive options, a lot of driving kicks, a lot of passes to the roller or pop player, creates extra passes to come off an action on the opposite side, a lot of other different options that the coaches can easily create and utilize. And at the end, there is just so much going on for the defensive team to work on to eliminate all the offensive actions happening after a very simple pick and roll action. And I think that's why all the coaches in the world will want to play pick and roll action within their offensive system all the time. Now, let's jump into the history of the pick and roll offense in the modern EuroLeague. In 2008-2009 season, teams played the pick and roll actions 23% of the time during the game. And as you see, the very first line here, 2008-2009 season, 77% of the time, teams were running something completely different than pick and roll, whether it would be a post action, whether it would be we used to see a lot of down screen and staggers, which we recently started to see it again in the last couple of years, where used to be dominantly these type of actions were happening. And when you look at 2018-2019 season, teams played pick and roll actions 42.5 of the time the first time. So there is a drastic change in 10 years. And very last year, the 2018-2019 season, as you see, 28.4% of all half-court possessions in the EuroLeague have been used by a ball handler or the screener in a pick and roll. So in the 2-on-2 action. So only 14.1% of all half-court possessions in the EuroLeague used to create for other players that weren't directly involved with the action. So I'm talking about the three players that are outside the three-point line or whatever the shape they are in. So 14.1%. In terms of efficiency, possessions originating in the pick and roll have been converted for 2.3 possession, while all other half-court possessions have generated 0.96 points per possession. So what we are seeing here is a pick and roll is just very dominant action throughout the years in 10, 11 years in the modern EuroLeague. So there are a lot of different breakdowns here. Let's take a look at the specific ball handler scoring option. So as you see in the diagram, there are four teams that the 2018-2019 EuroLeague season. These four teams, their guards, so their ball handlers score the most. So very first team is the Turkish team, Anadolu Efes Istanbul. So as you see, Micic, Barbo, and Simon from Anadolu Efes have all used over 18% of the team's pick and roll ball handler possessions and all scored over 1.05 points per pick and roll possession, as the team has found unprecedented, allowing its guards to simply create for themselves in ball screen situations. The average pick and roll handler possession is converted only 0.85 points, meaning Anadolu Efes is often generating above average looks in the half court merely by having one of its big men slide on and set a screen. So what we see is it's just gives you an idea where the guards dominating the game in the last 10, 12 years in the modern EuroLeague era, every single year, and especially you see this past season, the CSKA Moscow and of course Real Madrid and Anadolu Efes, Fenerbahce, you can see 1, 2, 3 men, and especially the 4 men even started to use those pick and rolls that are very efficient with finding scoring options for themselves. So let's take a look at what I mean by the guard scoring opportunities. I put a couple video samples here that, as you see, that just the guard scoring, being able to read the defense in a way that utilizes the opportunity where in this situation, as you see, there's a switch happening, and Anadolu Efes guards utilize that as a one-on-two actually with a weak side out. finishing that. So guards are really aggressive, really able to attack to the hoop. As you see, there are a lot of different finishes. There are a lot of different fundamentals that we are going to talk eventually. You see a lot of floaters. You see a lot of regular layups, a lot of opposite hand layups, a lot of floaters happening. You see the way they dribble, a lot of slow dribble and a fast dribble, a lot of body control. Guards are able to utilize this opportunity to start, stop actions. A lot of different way of finishing with a 1 or 2 dribble jumpers or a spin move in this case, finishing with a lot of different ways. Of course, these are all depends on the player's athletic ability, what they are capable of with their body, their agility and their strength is definitely different from one player to another. But the video that I compiled here, of course, these are very good offensive players. You see a lot of 1 dribble jumpers and a lot of 2 dribbles jumpers and mid-range and outside 3-point line. So these were the options that I wanted to demonstrate in terms of ball handler scoring option. Now, let's go through the screener scoring options. Throughout these last 10, 11 years, screener players' possessions tend to be relatively low as many teams look to take away angles to pass the ball to the screeners. But generating 1.17 points per possession, they still remain one of the EuroLeague's most efficient action. 2018-2019, especially points per possession, and their player Nicola Milutino led the EuroLeague in scoring efficiency on screening scoring category. So let's take a look at some video samples here. Of course, later on I'm going to focus on a lot of fundamentals here, but after and the screener utilizes and creates themselves. Some players are tall, big, good enough, so they attack to the hoop. They try to maintain their presence right in the middle of the key. So they're trying to finish around it with a 2-foot stop, with a finishing with a baby hook, or finishing with, of course, in these situations, if like a over 7-footer, you're trying to finish with a lot of alley-oops. So another goal here, as you see, athletic players. Of course, the offensive teams is just, we are going to talk about these alignments that the wing players usually align themselves either way deep corner or way deep high at the wing area so that the roller gets a lot of space underneath the basket. And whatever their strengths are, in this case, the mid-range is a strength for Vesely, so he is trying to utilize that mid-range jumper. And of course, teammates know what he's capable of, so they are utilizing that. In this case, FSP sends players very good outside 3-point shot, so he sets the pick and pop. And indirect scoring option. Now, when you look at the diagram, this diagram demonstrates which teams were the most efficient using the pick and roll in terms of scoring opportunities for someone other than the ball handler or the screen. Again, in this category, the Turkish team was very good with their pick and roll execution because of the way they surround that 2-on-2 action with the people that they have. They are very good at spot up. They are very good at creating off the dribbles. They are very good scoring opportunities for that team. Now let's take a look at some samples from indirect scoring options. In this situation, there's a 3-man switch happening, but a very lazy defense so that the offensive player recognizes, just makes a cut underneath the basket, creates that opportunity for himself. Attacking to a 2-man side, there's some kind of a flare action happening, so they're trying to get their players from the flare for a 3-point. In this case, there's a corner attack, and Vesely establishes himself as a stretching the floor to a mid-range jumper. And in this case, again, there's a good spacing happening here, but a one dribble, and a floater finish. There's a good triangle pass. There's an angle pass here after a double mid pick and roll happening. There are lots of different examples, but I wanted to come up with something simple. And talk about the way I see the pick and roll locations and common spacing patterns. Now, if we want to run pick and roll offense, first we must have an understanding of our options in terms of locations and spacing patterns. To me, there are essentially 5 different locations on the floor. In our league here in Canada, we usually have to go against 7 different pick and roll defensive coverages. So we design our drills and offensive strategy to solve all the necessary problems answering 2 important questions: where to set the pick and how to position other players who are not involved with the 2-on-2 actions. Defensively, within each coverage, there are many moving parts, headlined by the defender of the ball handler and the defender of the screener. Because of that, we have to teach all the necessary solutions to our players throughout the season. Also, to me, pick and roll is not only a 2-on-2 mini game situation, but it's a 5-on-5 team play. Because of that, we have to go through our pick and roll strategy and details to make sure offensively we must force weak side defenders not being able to provide correct support at the right time to eliminate our advantages. Let's jump into locations and spacing patterns. Locations. Let's start with the locations. The first corner, second one wing, the free throw line extended, 45, high elbow, and middle. Now let's take a look at the diagrams. The one at the corner, ball handler is at the corner, a 5-man or a 4-man, or one of the offensive players sets a screen and rolls, and a ball. Then the offensive team utilizes this action from the corner. In this case, free throw line extended, that I would like to call it as a wing pick and roll action, happening at the wing with the ball. Now at the 45, I would like to consider 45. To me, there are a lot of different terms that a lot of different people use it. So I like to use 45 as a name of the screen, just because high elbow extended going towards the 45 angle to a sideline. This is the way I look at it. And of course, the way you set that screen, whether it would be a flat or some different angles that you can easily create, that makes me think it's a good 45 degree. And this one, high elbow pick and roll, again, there are a lot of different, even in NBA, there are a lot of different terminology. I like to use high elbow, whether it would be a left or right. It depends on where the screen happens. In this case, with the last diagram is a mid pick and roll, classic mid pick and roll action. Let's go back, spacing patterns. And I think this is the one that I think everybody is familiar. Maybe I'm just using a different terminology here. I don't want to confuse you. I'm going to go through a lot of different diagram videos to clarify my point here. So to me, patterns, when you play pick and roll, there are 4 different spacing patterns. And that's the way I see it. Whether the ball is going to attack to an empty side, whether the ball is going to attack to a single side, double side, or triple side. And what I mean by that is this. So ball is going to attack to a empty side, so there is no one on that side. Ball is going to attack to a single side. In this case, ball is going to attack to a double side. And in this case, ball is going to attack to a 3-man side. Of course, you can easily switch this. 3-man would be here. Next time, 3-man would be here. 3-man would be here. I mean, you can put it wherever you want to put it, but at the end of the day, either you're attacking to an empty side, single, double side, or 3-man side. In this section, I would like to talk to you about the most common pick and roll spacing patterns that I coached or I experienced watching it, at least. So in this case, an empty side, usually it happens with a transition offense. Where first, the post player who position herself and for a post-up situation and never gets it, and she comes back and sets that flat screen, either rolls or pops. We usually see these type of situation on empty side during the transition offense. We usually see these type of stuff sometimes, including transition or half court. 4-man just dives in here, and they have the shooters on the other side, and 5-man pops or rolls. It depends on the ability, the player's ability to do things. And we usually see these type of situations. Either 4-man is outside, 4-man is inside, with 5-man popping, or everyone is outside, which in this case, most of the teams lately started to have 5-man so we can shoot the ball as well. So they create this huge space underneath the basket with a very simple empty side flat screen. So let's take a look at the videos that I put together, just to give you an idea about what I'm thinking of. In this case, again, the defense didn't allow the ball to go inside, so the ball handler was good enough to make that pass outside. And in this case, you see the four-man. You first two clips for they were outside. Now in this case, the four-man is inside. Shooter is outside waiting. Screener is a very good shooter, so she is going to pop to create this huge scoring opportunity for herself. In this case, you see the ball handler just wanted to get it done by herself. So she just wanted to make that pull-up jumper. But sometimes you see four-man is outside. Sometimes you see four-man is inside 4 or 5. Sometimes screener pops. Sometimes screener roll. But you see these type of patterns over and over again to an empty side option. Let's take a look at more examples from the EuroLeague. Empty side, man side. Ball we see just attacking to empty side. There's a good ball.
Coach, excuse me, coach. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
When you play the video, the sound was cut off.
I turn the sound off right now.
Yes, would you please explain that again?
Is that good now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
So another situation. Let me rewind this back. So another situation that, as we see, is way above here, but there's just a way of creating space. And they have a very good shooter here. He's able to shoot. He's definitely can shoot. So they just the ball attacks to an empty side here, and it just forces defense to create those long closeouts and bad rotations. Another transition situation. So another transition situation where the ball handler is good enough to make this move, snake dribble all the way attacking to a middle where the shooters align themselves outside, and their first big or whoever is not able to shoot their big players just making this dive to get this easy layup, also attracting all himself to create opportunities for a shooter. Yeah, let's go to a single side. Single side usually happens with a mid pick and roll or a high elbow screens, where the single side, just to give you an idea, there's only one player on a ball side where the ball is attacking. There's only one player, and the pattern wise, usually sometimes, most of the times, 4 is outside, and sometimes 4 is inside. So the screener pops. So they create this type of an alignment, and this is the common patterns that I usually see on a single side action. So let's take a look at it. This is a women's EuroLeague action where the ball handler attacks to a single side. When you attack to a single side, of course, you don't want to come up from a both side help. So usually, and most of the teams are utilizing this opportunity as putting their shooting, one of their shooting, so that you can't really bring any help. So in this case, this is a four-man for a French team and a four-man for a defensively Turkish team. So there's a 1-to-5 screen happening, and four-man is very hesitating bring this help. So that forces this individual to come to that help. Of course, he has to stay in front of the ball too, but it's just creating an advantage for offensively and putting defense in a very bad situation. You are going to see the next clip, if I'm not wrong. Same things. The four-man is stretching outside here, so that defensively they can't really bring that help. In this case, it's a very good shooter. Is spotting herself out there, and this is a non 3-point shooting big, just stretching herself short corner instead of an outside. So different patterns that you see. Again, the roller rolls, 5-man rolls, but we know that the 4-man now offensively stretched out. This is a Kenyan man who very good outside the 3-point line. and they lift their wing player up here. So it's just creating a lot of different difficulties for defense. This type of single side alignment, of course, it depends on you where to position yourself, position your players into those patterns. Let's take a look at more clips from the Olympic qualifiers. And the most of the teams are putting their best shooters, whether it will be a mid-range or a long-range shooters, on a ball side. And it's really hard to bring those helps on the ball side. And they are bringing their weak side shooters to a level where they can see the triangle pass. So just lifting themselves up high enough so that the weak side help cannot provide any kind of a help situation. In this case, you see that there's a pick and roll happening to a single side, good shooter waiting. So what's going to happen here is as everybody would want to tag and everybody would want to stop the ball. Of course, there is a weak side help. There is a very good French guard shooter here, so they want to play tight, I guess, tactically. Just creates a lot of difficulty for defense. In this case, another attack where she's a very good mid-range shooter. She's going to realize that anytime she's open. So no matter what you run, at the end of the day, any kind of a pick and roll situation, if you end up in any kind of a pick and roll situation, this is one of the things that you attack to a single side. Where you position these individuals, up to you. What you want to do here to distract any kind of a weak side defense, up to you. It's up to you and your player's ability to execute. Okay. More examples from the men's side, men's EuroLeague this year. As you see, there's a single side attack. Four men, of course, outside stretch four, who's able to shoot the ball, creates a lot of difficulty to guard. It's a good pattern. I'll go through with the patterns more now so that we make ourselves familiar with the actions. There is the wing player stretching himself outside the corner. There is a non-shooter four-man just spotting himself out there. There is another shooter and a big set that screen and rolling hard. Rolling short to a level where he's the way they play right now, they are playing 3-on-2. 3-on-2 situation. And defensively, it's just always hard to play against. Another situation where, despite he can shoot, they just want to make sure that they are bringing this defender down to a level where they can easily play. And this is a 3-on-3 here, knowing that this defense has to bump the roller. He will be wide open to shoot the ball, or he is going to utilize this mismatch as a shortcut trying to bump. He's going to either utilize his advantage, size advantage here to finish with a jumper or underneath the basket, or they are going to make this pass to a very good shooter here. So the different patterns create different offensive opportunity. In this case, what we are looking for, there is the single side attack happening. Right? There's a very good shooter here. There's a very good post player rolling. The tallest and the strongest player on the floor right now, rolling hard to a three-man's defense where they have the size and a power advantage. What happens is you have to tag the individual. You have one of the best three-point shooter here, despite there is a huge gap. These type of players can easily knock those things down. So they're kind of, the ball handler is seeing this. There's a 2-on-1 situation and there's a mismatch here. So the ball handler is just reading and reacting at a very high level. And of course, players are at a very good understanding of the game, knows how to execute stuff. And another situation where the ball goes to a single side, four-man, too much help on a ball side, just four-man knocks it down immediately. Another situation where a single side stretches the floor, very good ball movement without even taking a dribble. See a lot of situation where individuals just understands their role, they stretch, they space the floor in a manner where you understand that the game within the game, the pick and roll is used to create mismatches, to create any kind of a either 2-on-1 situation here or a stretch 2-on-1 situation here, trying to create those close and close out situations consistently. Another situation, single side attack, good triangle pass, good post up, ends up with a good scoring opportunity underneath the basket. These are all options from a single side. Let's go to a double side. I want to try to go as quickly as I can so that I can go through the breakdowns as much as quickly as I can. So you see sometimes four-man is going to be positioning themselves on the outside, sometimes inside, but the screener is going to pop. So these are the three patterns that probably every single time during the game we see it all the time. So here are some video examples from different levels. The women's league action, where the two-man side happening, ball goes, but you see the very first possession just demonstrates the idea of non-shooting big is positioning herself on a ball. Sorry, not that one. The screen happens. She can shoot. They think that defense is going to be different than what actually happens. The defense is eventually switching the ball, so they think that they are going to play over so she can pop and get that ball and shoot. But in this case, I want you to focus on the ball side positioning, where there's a very good shooter from Italy, and there's a very good inside interior power waiting at the block. So what's happening right now is the ball is going to attack to a double side. This is the pattern that we usually see. You create a defensive rotation, just a messy, consistently trying to recover type of a defensive situation where you offensively you position yourself on an offensive end, you position yourself inside in a very strong, and you the shooter waiting at a triangle pass consistently. We see these type of patterns, which would allow offensive player to operate at a bigger space. In this case, four-man was outside at the corner waiting, so these are the regular ones that we usually see. Again, two-man side attacking, but they're all waiting outside, so they utilize their triangle player. Let's give you some examples from the Olympic qualifiers. Again, this year's Women Olympic qualifiers, double side actions, the patterns that usually happens. So again, two players are outside waiting. In this case, two players again waiting outside, but they utilize the pop player. Sorry. In this case, non-shooting four-man is waiting here, and the three-man is waiting here, and a screen happens here in the middle, where it stretches herself in a way that she is comfortable to shoot the ball from a mid-range. In this case, two-man side, the shooters are waiting outside. And this is just a bad spacing, but what they are trying to do is they wanted to play a high, this yo-yo action where the screener rolls and the four-man comes up, but they couldn't utilize properly. But at the end of the day, it just stretches the floor in a way that just offensively you can utilize it, create scoring opportunities. Drive and kick opportunity where the indirect scoring options happens. In this situation, four-man is just strong and seals and try to get the ball on the basket 4 or 5. More video examples from the men's EuroLeague actions. The ball pass to the other side. Of course, there is a lot of power, athleticism happening with the men's side, but I want you to look at the way the pattern happening right now. It's just a two-man side attacking to a two-man side. Despite he's a very good three-point shooter, but they, in order to create more space for one of their best player, they need to position they need to create these patterns. in a way that defensively it's not going to be easy to stay in front of the ball from a weak side happening. So they would like to put their 4 or 5 man right here at right at the dunk spot, and they would want to position these players on here, so it's not easy to bring any kind of a help, which would allow guard to be more efficient. Same thing is happening on here. But yeah, I think utilizes in a way that when the ball goes to a down to a double side, they usually bring this corner player from for a baseline cut that creates a lot of opportunity for the top player to space out, which would eventually allow ball to go deep down easily. You see a lot of angle for a roller, a lot of angle to a ball. In this situation, it was classic. 2 players were outside waiting. In this situation, again, 2 players are just waiting outside, but both of them are really good shooters. So it just allows this post player to dive into an almost empty area. This situation again, 2 players waiting here. Again, this is a completely different topic, but most of the time, teams are usually bringing the help from the two-man side, which is the low side. So you can easily position your guard here or 2 guard here. So your big ends up with a shorter player for an easy scoring option. Again, classic 2-man attacking to a 2-man side where there are a lot of good quick shooters where they catch and shoot very easily. And same thing as you see, it's just the baseline. There's a baseline cut happening to create the space. Usually defensively, we started to see this player's defense is just jumping to the ball to try to disrupt any kind of an easy dribble or passing or scoring option. And this kind of a baseline cut utilizes this player to space out and create more opportunity for him. So whatever you want to do, either single side, double side, triple side, just up to you, your offensive philosophy, your players' ability to do things. What I would like to emphasize here is just the spacing patterns that I commonly see. And 2 players are outside. They like to utilize a triangle pass. They go from there. Another 2-man side attack, which utilizes big man to roll inside to an empty spot, which eventually a lot of good passes, extra passes happening. Triple side. So in this case, triple side, you see a lot of action usually happening from a corner or a wing or a 4 or 5 angle that the ball attacks to a 3-man side. But sometimes you see 4-man is stretching the floor outside waiting. You can position these players anywhere you want, but three players are usually outside. Sometimes your big man is inside waiting and the shooters are outside and there's another roll happening. Sometimes your screener, still the non-shooter is waiting here at the dunk spot and your shooter is waiting on a ball side. So let's take a look at some video examples just to give you an idea how I see triple side. Here again, it happens in a way that the ball goes to middle, where you see the very first clip. You are going to see screen happens, and a 4-man position herself on a ball side block area, and they have the shooters on the ball. So in this case, screener rolls and attracts the defense with her. Same situation happens on the offensive end. 4-man just 4 or 5-man position herself right at the block. We have the shooter on the ball side, and we have a roller happening. So what's happening is just it forces this defensive player to be just play with the roller. So forces corner defensive player to be able to manage the big. So they eventually create this two motion here. Same situation. This time again, 4-man is 4 or 5-man is waiting at the block, and the screener popped. You see 4-man or 5-man waiting inside. The shooters are on both sides positioning themselves. And you have the big man position himself inside the screen and rolls. Another 4-man or 5-man just seals underneath the basket, creates the space, and offensive players move the ball very efficiently, create opportunities for themselves. Again, in this case, 4 or 5-man just position herself on a weak side block. The screen rolls and offensive players here on offensive and just spacing themselves out. So these type of patterns that we commonly see. Sometimes 4-man is waiting outside. Sometimes 4-man waits outside and rolls and ends up at 9. Again, it's just your philosophy, the way you want to do things with your players. Knowing what defense is going to react, you can come up with different strategies, but the pattern-wise, patterns are the same. Patterns are not going to change. Okay. Okay. Now, after all these video examples and diagrams that I like to do, and when it comes down to teaching someone how to do what to do, I like to break down into 4 different parts of the game. And let's go through that. So in this pick and roll teaching progression, I have 4 different stages. I'm going to start from 1-on-0 to end up 1 versus 2, and to 4-on-0 to 4-on-4 situations. I'm going to demonstrate you with a lot of diagrams, explain to you, and also we have a very limited amount of time. I am trying to like talk as fast as I can and try to provide you as many information as I can, but probably I'm going to miss a lot of points. So maybe later on we can email back and forth, or I can provide you my phone. We can talk on the phone, or again another Zoom meeting. I can go through all the other stuff, but I just want to provide you how I break down things and how I teach things to my players here. So what I like to do is, as I mentioned to you, I like to break it down into 4 layers. And the first layer is introduction of the new skill. And introduction of the new skill, of course, when it comes to pick and roll, there are a lot of different things that we would like to teach to our players about time. So the first one is a footwork, and I like to go through 3 different stages of a footwork: 2-foot stop, outside in, and inside out steps, body control. There are a lot of things happening with that, especially if you're a guard. You're dribbling the ball, trying to set the defense up so that the screener comes and sets the proper screen. So the body control happens in a way that you have to consistently make a body contact with your defender, observing the contact, and not only being able to observe the contact, but you have to be able to push the defender back to a level where your big man comes and sets the screen. So there are a lot of different dribbling drills that we usually do to get our players to be like comfortable, being able to comfortable to utilize these opportunities to set the defender up and use the pick. So dribbling, we teach a lot of short, long, and a lot of stop and go. As I was showing you, the guard finishes around the hoop. You saw a lot of short dribble, long dribble, a lot of stops and goes, a lot of fast and slow, a lot of change of directions, and always focusing on taking the minimum amount of dribbling before pass or score. As you know, especially doesn't matter what the level you are playing at, the more you dribble, defenses easily recover. So that we are focusing on take minimum amount of dribble, try to be better at making those decision makings in terms of passing and scoring. In terms of passes, um, after this clinic is over, you go back on YouTube again, try to watch that the guard finishes. You saw, the big man finishes. You saw a lot of different passing options. I mean, what do we usually teach? We usually teach an overhead pass and a bounce pass and a lot of chest passes and stuff like that. But when it comes to playing 2-on-2, and when it comes to making this action on 5 action and defense activate, and a lot of as level goes continues gets bigger, there are a lot of big players are going to be there to close out all the angles that you may not do it. So you have to be very creative with your underhand passes, and underhand passes, a lot of overhead jump passes, a lot of 1-2 step outside and spin push passes to create create that stability with the body control and try to find those outside kickouts. These are the ones that we consistently focus. And finishing around the hoop, uh, in terms of layups, love jumper and 2 dribbles and a follow-up jumper, and a lot of 2-foot stop jumpers, and mid-range and long-range, of course. In terms of drill-wise, I mean, this is one of those drills that commonly everybody uses. There's nothing magical into this, but what we would like to focus on, of course, every single thing that you want to teach. Player. So in this case, the very first diagram just demonstrates the idea of any kind of a transition, getting into a transition offense, and you are just getting that quick drag screen happening to you with this call. So we are focusing on a full speed straight line, demonstrates the idea of a transition, or sideways dribble. Of course, so to imagine that there's a defender right, so just kind of dragging all the way to a screen level. So it just gives you an idea of what they need to do. So dribble low and close to the bottom, the imaginary defender below the pick level. So we want our dribble away from the defender, use your body, shoulder to head, push the ball ahead as soon as you turn the corner. All those the basic fundamentals that we would like to go through with our players. So that was for the guards. So what do we do with the post players? Again, some basic drills where they pass the coach and set a screen and roll. So what we would like to do is footwork is very important for the post players, because most of the time when they set the screen, when they roll to the hoop, there's a dilemma. So coaches would want their players to be able to make an eye contact with the ball all the time. But as they make an eye contact with the ball, they don't know where the rim is, or even they know where the rim is, they don't know if there's a weak side elbow or not. So we are focusing on a whole bunch of sorts of stuff, but the footwork is the most important thing here. Outside in, I'm focusing on, I'm very big on the outside in stops, a lot of power layups, a lot of 1 dribble and reverse layups, a lot of 1 dribble and 2 dribble series that are different finishing around the hoop, a lot of 2-foot stops with the floater and up and under stuff. The second diagram just demonstrates the idea. If you have a big man who's able to shoot the ball, now they set the screen and pop. It's just we teach them how to set the screen. We teach them how to spin and pop themselves out. Most of the time, traditionally, you set a screen and you just open up yourself on the inside. In this type of situation, I love our players to be able just to set the screen and crossover, step forward without turning their back and making an eye contact with the ball and the rest of the floor at the same time. I have different footworks here that I like to utilize, and the very last one that we demonstrate the idea of a mid pick and roll or a mid pick and roll pop situation. We just combine all the skills that we would want them to know. Now, the second teaching progression is 1 versus coach. In these situations, I would like to go through with the same drill, so it's very easy for me to explain, and it's very simple for everyone to be able to follow. Otherwise, there are zillions of drills out there that you use it probably, or you go out there and you can find it online. But I would like to go with these drills so it's easy for me to go through. Same drill that there's just transition situation scenario. Let's say you put one of our coach, you can easily put one of your players, just to make sure that the player is going to play the soft but challenges enough for the skills that we would want our offensive player to have. Let's say one of the skill, what do we want? Well, most of the time defense is aggressive, or defense aggressive in a way that they don't want the ball go to that screen level. So that the coach is going to push try to give offensive player a little difficulty. You can easily put some rules. For example, guard is only allowed to take 1 or 2 dribbles after turns the corner and finish certain ways. Or for example, guard is allowed to take 1 dribble after the turn the corner and has to take a shot, mid-range or long shot, and a different footwork, outside in, inside out, or 2-foot stops. In this case, player meets with the ball. First drill, for example, you can say 2 is only allowed to take a dribble and finish with a floater, or whatever the way you want them to finish. Second drill would be 2 is only allowed to take a dribble and has to make a jumper with a different footwork. That is and that was on the ball. how are we going to teach weak side help versus weak side help situation? So we put one of our coach underneath the basket. So there are three scenarios involved with this. So the coach remains right in the middle, doesn't move. So how offense is going to react? Right? So we are trying to focus on, okay, finish with a floater, finish with a jumper, finish with this, finish with that. Then second scenario is coach takes a step forward to stop the ball. So how are we going to do it? Do we want to go into a Euro step? Do we want to go into a 2-foot stuff or a pump fake, go up and under? Like whatever the skill set that you would want to, just go through these type of drills and teach them. And the third scenario is coach takes a step sideways to meet with the ball. So in this case, the ball handler just turns the corner and coach doesn't steps forward. Coach doesn't remain at the same spot, just goes to the sideways. So we are focusing on finishing with a contact, especially at our level, at every level. I coach guys and I coach at the young generation. I coach the older guys at the university level. Now I coach the younger girls. I have been coaching at the university level at the girls side. I seen it all. You miss a lap and you miss a lap, whatever the reason is, whether you are not strong enough to finish after making a body contact, or psychologically you are not necessarily strong enough, mentally strong enough to go after someone and finish around those. So these type of drills would allow these individuals to overcome those things and be more efficient. And same thing here happening. It just the player meets with the ball scenario where again coach remains the weak side so that the ball goes to the hoop easily, so that you can focus on finishing with a regular layup or opposite hand layup or floater, whatever it is. And the second scenario takes a step forward to stop the ball, and the last scenario takes a step sideways to meet with the ball. For the post players, exactly the same scenarios that we go through this time. We put our coach with the post player, so for the post player sets the screen and rolls. So the coach whether remains at the same spot, and it's just a lot of decision-making process happening for the post player. So we would want to utilize whatever we taught 1-on-0 now in a scenario where we are going to challenge players' ability to execute things. In the second diagram, exactly the same thing. This time it's a pop scenario. And third time, which happens most of the time in a pick and roll situation where the big man rolls, there's always some kind of a weak side help comes, whether that weak side hits high or hits low or just being late, but just right there. So three scenarios that we want our players to be able to execute properly. And the third stage where we remove the coach, we put the players into it, and we make it. And this is a control advantage drill. I still won't want offensive players to be able to have a little bit of an advantage, because we are in the process of still they are able to do it, but they are not comfortable enough, or they are not at a level where the execution is not high yet. So we would want to put those defensive players, but we put them in a way with offenses still have a little advantage. So I would like to go through with the same drills here. And instead of a coach, you are going to see a defender. Instead of a coach, you are going to see a defender at the second dribble. The second diagram as well. Now, with the one-on-one situation, what we would like to do is defensive layers. You see, defense goes over. So and throughout the other diagrams, you are going to see the same pattern. The defense is always going to go over. So I want to keep it basic because there are millions of different ways to coverage. I don't want to give you a lot of different details here. So I want to focus on going over. So what we would like to do, offensive players, just forcing them to utilize this action with a 1 dribble, 2 dribble, and knowing that the defense is right behind them. Right? Defense is right behind them. So in a situation where defense is right behind you, what are you going to do? You are limited with the dribble as well. So we are consistently keeping them, making them uncomfortable in a scenario where they have to execute in a very short amount of time, consistently. Same scenario here with the second diagram. Now that was the on-ball defender. How are we going to educate our weak side defense? So in the same situation, instead of a coach, we put the offensive player here, X5. We go through exactly the same stages, three different scenarios happening, and same thing happening on a weak side help scenario. How are we going to do it? What are we going to do it? With the post, again, instead of a coach, now we have the X5, same situation happening, but we still as I said, create the drills in a way at this stage of learning, create the drills in a way that offenses always have a split second advantage. So defense has to react. Often we don't want offense to get that easy layups or easy this and easy that. As soon as you see that it's happening easy, that means that your players are progressing in a positive direction. So what you need to do is, instead of giving 1 second advantage to your offense, give 0.5. So create those drills in a way that where offense is still slightly have an advantage, and expect that offensive player to utilize that advantage. So it's these diagrams, instead of coach, we put the offensive defensive player so that the offense reacts accordingly. In this case, it's a weak side situation. 5-man sets the screen and rolls. How is she going to do the footwork? How is she going to make the body contact? How is she going to take the first dribble and a second dribble as soon as she catches the ball? We go through all those scenarios. And the very last stage, one-on-one and one-on-two game situation drills. Again, same drills that I would like to use, but this time, no advantages. Everyone is equal. We create scenarios, let's say this drill, we create scenarios where we want to demonstrate the idea of a transition offense happening, right? So that the defensive player starts with the ball, dribbles at the middle, passes, and recovers immediately. So how is she going to react into this? Catch the ball and attack immediately, dribble, and of course defense is right beside, and they're playing their whatever the transition defensive poses that we will want them to do. It's another thing you can easily implement your defensive strategy here while you're trying to build your offensive skills to a player. So anyway, so offensive player, it's just a very equal one-on-one situation. We don't want any kind of a easy layup here, so we put rules. Okay, only 2 dribbles, no layups, but you gotta do something else. So very first diagram, for example, you can make that snake dribble and attack to a corner, and let's see how good you are with your mid-range pull-up jumper, or dribble out to a 3-point line, create a space. Let's see how good you are with your three. You can come up with whatever the way you want to come up, but at this stage of learning, it is all competitive, no advantage to anyone. Let's see how offensive player is going to be able to execute the skill set that you want to teach, you have been teaching with the first 3 stages of learning. In this case, this is a one-on-one situation. Zipper, one of those actions that all around the world, every single level of the game that everybody plays, men's and the woman. So you can create scenarios where you're feeling comfortable, or one of those offensive, whatever you want to play, one of those breakdown drills that you can utilize for one-on-one opportunity. In this case, I picked zipper as a very universal action, and I like to create one-on-two situations. One-on-two, I put it here wrong, but it's just a one-on-two game situation here where you have X1 and X5 waiting one to come. So these are the situations that your teaching comes into part, not the drill itself. So you are knowing that the defensive player is going to go over, knowing that the offensive player is going downhill, and there is someone in front of the ball. So you have to now focusing on the dribbling. A lot of stops and goes and a slow and fast dribble. You're focusing on body control. You're pausing and going, pausing and going. While you're pausing, you're making your body contact. Of course, someone is behind you trying to recover to her check. So going hard and fast, how are you going to be able to dribble and observe that contact and continue attacking to someone in front of you, way taller, probably bigger and stronger in front of you, and try to finish? Right? So you are consistently teaching these type of stuff, not just the sake of running the drill, but consistently emphasizing the things that you should be emphasizing. And in this case, we are trying to replicate the idea of a weak side help coming, right? So the guard is attacking weak side help coming. You give and take, maybe the same height, maybe a little taller than the ball handler, but we are just giving them a different look consistently and different idea, and make them, force them to attack in a one-on-two situations. Post up, the same. You can come up with the drills that you want to come up with. It's just a coach using this pick and roll situation. I put here 3-4 different drills that you can easily come up with. And again, there's no advantage. It's very equal opportunity one-on-one situations. And the third diagram demonstrates the idea of a transition situation, and the last one demonstrates the idea of a weak side help situation. Now, from now on, everything is the same. What I mean by the same, from now on, 2-on-0 to 2-on-2, all the way to 4-on-4, I am going to go through exactly the same stages. The first stage is the introduction of the new skill. The second stage is the coach guides through the read and react situations. Third stage is control advantage drills that we allow our offensive players to have that slight advantage. And the last stage where we feel comfortable or where we want to put our players into, okay, go out there and let's see what you have type of situations, game type of situations. I am going to go through and just going to build up with whatever I showed you 1-on-0, but I'm going to be really quick because I want to show you a lot of different videos just to back my point up. So instead of me like boring you with all the little diagrams and talking too much, I want to give more videos so that we would discuss through those videos. In this very first drill that you see is just a 5-man pass. So you can utilize these type of drills as a part of a shooting drill as well, or as a part of a warm-up drill as well. Sets the screen, rolls, uses the screen passes, comes up high for a 3-point shot. Whatever the way you want your 5-man to finish, you can go through it. Exactly the same scenarios here. Transition, this time flat screen pop. Again, we utilize these as a shooting drill as well, part of our practices. Same stuff. It's just a 5-man passes, sets the screen, rolls, and all bunch of stuff that you can utilize it, and different. You can utilize it in a way that the screens can be set at specific locations or specific angles. You can come up with it. In this case, now the second section, 2 versus coach. So what we do, we sometimes put coach on a ball handler. We sometimes put coach on the 5-man, and we go from there. Whatever the action that we would want to run, again, we emphasize certain things for players to do or when they are guarded, either take a dribble or jumper, or take a dribble or 3, their footwork, this and that, bunch of things that you can utilize. You can come up with your own drills here. And 2-on-1 control advantage drills. Again, we would like to provide a slight advantage to our players. As you see, 5-man passes. It's just a box drill that I like to use a lot. I use a 3-on-3 situation, 4-on-4 situation. Just move the ball around. Everybody moves and just gets you into that whatever the screening action that you want to get into. Again, those were half court. These are transition scenarios. We would like to create some transition scenarios. Defense has the ball, passes to offensive player and recovers, and offensive player turns around the corner and attacks. In the meantime, same action happens. 5-man has to go around the cone and a 5-man sprint. It's just a game-like situations that you create throughout the practices to give your players an idea. Okay, we worked on this 2-on-0, 2-on-1 with the 2-on coach. Okay, now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Okay, let's go for it. And same things, instead of a side pick and roll, you can utilize in a flat screen here. Okay, so the game situation drills. Now there is no advantage, but just purely playing games here. 2-on-2 scenarios. Just this one is a mid pick and roll coming out of a zipper again, and a transition drag situation where just you position 4 players in a diamond situation, defensive players and offensive players inside, defensive players outside. Of course, you're working on a lot of different things. A defensive transition you're working on offensively, not only bringing the ball up high as fast as you can, but you're also working on running the lanes on a transition and stuff like that. You can work on a lot. As we are going to build up more and more, you would be able to 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. You will be able to establish the other part of the games that you want your team to run. Now, in this, what I would like to share, University of Calgary women's basketball programs, 2-on-2 scenarios that I come up with. Put some videos here. What we did throughout the season in a 2-on-2 setting. Let me start with the Another option. Let's say same empty side attack, immediately reject the screen. Same thing happening, empty side attack. Again, a lot of stop and goes because knowing that the defense is going to be there, we are trying to play that fast, slow, quick dribble, short dribble, long dribble, stop, pause, and go. And to give defense a complete different look all the time, consistently. We like to space rest of the people outside the 3-point line in a way that we want them to be in certain patterns, spacing patterns. So we force defense to make those bad rotations or not being able to rotate. In this case, you're going to see a lot of layups and driving lanes, open driving lanes and stuff. And these are, of course, now I also want you to focus on the way we finish. A lot of layups, a lot of 2-foot stop threes, a lot of one dribble pull-up jumper with an inside-out foot, a lot of attacking in a sort of finishing with a body contact and keeping the ball outside, using the inside shoulder, leaning towards the defender. Bunch of things that we have been working on and utilizing. A lot of Euro steps and finishing with an opposite hand and different techniques, different fundamentals. We have been working of outside in, spin, pull-up jumpers. We're working on different things to make sure at this level, the level that we are at, that we are going to be able to utilize these 2-on-2 situations with a proper fundamental. And you are going to see a bunch of course, a lot of basket cuts happening with the different looks and stuff, but we always try to create those spacing patterns that we feel comfortable so that we can create something out of it. Like in this situation where we set the screen attacking to a 3-man side, you see that our 4-man is positioning at the block, other shooters are outside. So we are forcing off a defensive team to not being able to stop the ball properly. So in this case, another attacking to a single side where we position ourselves in a way that we are ready to get that offensive rebound. Now the screener option, couple screener option I put. So we were lucky enough to have a 5-man who's going to be able to pick and pop so that our spacing pattern off the ball was accordingly so that there won't be any kind of an easy help to recover. So you are going to see a bunch of single side attack, bunch of double side attack, and our spacing and off the ball movement according to what we will like to establish with the ball. You are going to see another 5-man popping up. Same thing here. Attacking to a 3-man side where the 4-man was underneath the basket, created that pop very easily so that there was no easy defense. So 3-on-3 situation, again, we have the 4 stages exactly the same. Of course, once our players are feeling comfortable, we are kind of like quickly moving on a little way faster. The most important part that you need to spend your time with a lot of 1-on-0, 1-on-1, when 1 versus 2, and a lot of 2-on-0, 2-on-2. Once they get that idea, now you're moving into a territory where indirect scoring option, the very first subject that we were talking about, the players around the pick and roll when they're not a part of that 2-on-2, but they're around it, the way they position themselves. Now you start teaching these type of stuff. Again, I would like to use the same drills just to give you an idea. It's just a pass goes to a wing, comes up high, catches, passes, and sets a screen and rolls. The ball handler uses the screen. We got multiple different options. Whatever you want to focus on that day, you want to focus on the roller pass, focus on the pass to the roller. You want to focus on the movement of the ball. For example, some teams would like to bring their player up high, but some teams, as we saw from which examples, the defense is right there, try to stop the ball. Sometimes you want your player to go low. So you are working on a pick and roll, you're working on a spacing movement off the ball situations in these cases. A lot of different things that you can work on. You can work on a ball side, you can work on a triangle passes option here. And now the second stage, we put the coaches again, whatever the way you want to coach, in this case, for example, in this example, I just wanted to demonstrate the idea. I would want our wing players to have the most difficulty while we are trying to run this pick. So I wouldn't really focus on here. But next time, what we do, we do focus on a pick and roll action itself. So we put the defense, we put the coach on a 5-man. So we want to focus on here. So whatever the stages of that learning with your team, you can easily come up with these 3 versus coach, but 3 versus 2 coach scenarios. Now, instead of coaches, we put the players, defensive players. Again, they are playing, but little advantage that the offensive player have are going to utilize. And this is a ball side action. This is a triangle pass action. You can work on the different aspects of this pick and roll, and we put them in a game situation. So one of the drill that I like the most is it is well known as a Korean drill, but it is usually used as a 2-on-1 transition. So I like to put one of the big men on that drill and utilize it as a pick and roll action. You will want to put the 3-man come up high. 3-man can stay here, or 3-man can easily cut to the ball side. So to utilize the idea of a triangle pass on a ball side, wherever you want to position these players, it's up to you, your philosophy. But these type of drills would allow you to be able to just put them in a competitive situation where you expect to see what you have been teaching to them at the first 3 stages. For examples, again, everybody likes to run side pick and rolls or diamond situations. You can come up with whatever the way you want to come up. And I want to show you 3-on-3 scenarios that we ended up playing this season, ball side option. So you see there's a pick and pop action happening. Drive allows we put our form. Sorry, let me go back. So in this case, if we put our 4-man here, knowing that their 4-man is not going to be able to bring that help easily, or if she overplays, then we are going to get that shot wide open. Same scenario, we put our 4-man on the other side to create that stretch. You are going to see baseline cuts, which vacuum cut that I usually use as a term to bring the defense go down so that you can get those easy shots from outside. So you are going to see some post entries coming out with the triangle passes that I showed you on the diagram. So again, another triangle pass is happening. Whatever you do after you make that pass with the ball movement and stuff, it's up to you. Another screening situation happens where you make the triangle pass, and the pass goes down to a post where we try to play one-on-one. Some wing options, and what I mean by wing option is just an indirect scoring option. Right? It's just a triangle pass, catch and shoot. Whether it would be some kind of a horns flare action, we would like to position our 4 or 5-man, the shooter 4-man, to a position where she can score. And another triangle situation where we put our 4-man on a single side, so it's not easy to bring the help. So we can use her shooting ability. Same thing here with our 4-man with a triangle pass, catch and shoot. Attacking to a double side, but our 4-man is outside, was waiting at the single side. We originally wanted to run through her side, but we were able to find that triangle pass and she was able to finish. Now we move into a 4-on-0, 4-on-4. Again, I know I'm boring you with the same, repeating myself the same way, but I got 4 different, 4 layers in terms of teaching progression. that I will never ever give up. I felt very comfortable using these 4 stages where, of course, it's a long-term project too. Like there is no quick, quick way to teach individuals who are not comfortable with doing things. So I utilize these 4 stages to make sure everybody understands their roles and responsibilities and the offensive, defensive principles that it's easy to teach. It's easy to grasp for the kids. It's not like, okay, go out there, run this and expect them to run. It's just the layers of teaching and layers of environments that I'm trying to create for players to so that they are feeling more comfortable and they are growing within this process easier and having the self-esteem easier. So 4-on-0 situation, exactly the same drills, pass happening in a side pick and roll. Now you are getting into a scenario where you're almost about to establish your offensive system. Later on, I'm going to show you a couple clips from our teams as well. So we would like to run a lot of flow motion offense as a part of our secondary offense too. So we don't want to stop the ball. If you're not able to attack and play fast within the first 10 seconds, and we get into the secondary, we don't want to call plays too much. So we want to get into that secondary offense so that we move the ball from one side to another and utilize the side pick and rolls or whatever the pick and rolls in terms of locations that we want to run. And we put coaches, so we put 3 coaches, wherever you want to put. You want to put the screener, you want to put the wing players only, you want to, whatever the layer that you want to teach within this concept, you put those coaches over there. And 3rd stage, instead of coaches, now you have actual defensive players. Again, you utilize it the way you want to utilize it. Empty player, so for example, offensive player doesn't have a defense, maybe you can easily tell you are not going to score, but you are going to create scoring opportunities for others. So maybe that individual consistently goes and sets a screen and stuff like that. So you can come up with your own principles within the drill. You can come up with some certain rules, whatever you want to emphasize during that period of time, or whatever you want them to learn. You can come up with your own rules within these type of drills. And the last stage of the learning is a competitive game situation drills where we actually put these individuals into whatever we want them to execute. In this case, the very first diagram, you are going to see the rest of the world. Everyone runs this type of action where it's a diamond or floppy. So we put these type of situations where we can get into a quick pick and roll situations where we move the ball. You're also emphasizing the different part of the game, basket cuts and spacing and post-ups and after post-ups, movement, and stuff like that too. But mainly, of course, right now, I'm going to show you the pick and roll scenarios where the 5-man sometimes stays low, sometimes comes up high to create the bigger angle for the roller. So you can come up with the different scenarios, whatever you want, but this is the stage where it is competitive. Everything is competitive. So that was a diamond. This is a zipper action. So you can come up with whatever the scenario you want to come up, or you want, for example, in this case, so the zipper action happens, ends up with a mid pick and roll. But sometimes you would want your baseline. You would want to have a baseline cut. Sometimes you would want your 4-man to, if she's a non-shooter, why would you want to keep her there? Keep her here. If she's a shooter, come up high. You can come up with your own scenario. Sometimes you would want your big man to, if she's a non-shooter, you would want a short roll, and you want to keep the 4-man to another side. You can come up with the variations the way you want to run your offensive system. You can set the drills up accordingly. And that was the stage. So this is our 4-on-4 scenarios right now that we were able to execute this year. So these are the ball side options. And attacking to a single side, as you see, a baseline cut happens, and we create that wide open look at the corner. And attacking to a double side where we create that 2-on-1 advantage for ourselves for a quick extra pass. Triangle pass option where we end up attacking to a short corner where we move the ball as quickly as we can to try to create that back closeouts and then allow our offensive players to attack the inside E, where we attack to a single side mid pick and roll situation, creates a lot of driving lanes for our players so that they can kick out if there's a proper defense ahead of them. Also, you are going to see a lot of different passing, footwork, and finishing around the hoop skills that you are seeing right now as well. A lot of spacing, a lot of movement without the ball. You are going to see another three-man side attack, ends up with a switch, which we move the ball as fast as you can. Couldn't get the advantage underneath the basket, but off the ball movement created that outside shot. Now, how does it look on 5-on-5 situations? Now, after we started from 1-on-0 and we ended up in a 4-on-4 situation, 5-on-5 situations are kind of unique because when you go into a 5-on-5 situation, you will see certain actions, this and that, run this set, run this. So this part, I wanted to focus on only pick and roll actions. So don't I didn't want to give you, okay, I like this set, I like that set. I just wanted to give you and share with you the very beautiful pick and roll scenarios that happen at our league, at the women's league, in Euro League, and Olympic level, and the men's side. So I put those clips back to back. Let's watch and let's see what it looks like in a 5-on-5 situations after we taught all the 1-on-0 to all the way to 4-on-4. So we want to move the ball as fast as you can, space the floor, attacking to a three-man side, but we brought our five-man outside, so we opened that huge gap underneath the basket, utilize it with our role player. So we are moving around, try to a lot of movement off the ball as you see, and end up with a mid pick and roll, attacking to a single side, allowed our point guard. Point guard wasn't able to attack, so but she was able to get a good space for a jumper, so she got the jumper. Another situation where we attack to a single side, five-man rolls, four-man stretches. We create that 2-on-1 weak side, but we were able to finish inside underneath the basket with our big. So we are pushing the ball on the floor, trying to move the ball as fast as you can, end up with a mid pick and roll situation where we attack to a single side, but this time we have a jet screen, so the four-man sets a screen to a three-man on a weak side. You can come up with your own situations here to create something outside of a pick and roll. Yeah, again, we end up in a mid pick and roll, single side attack, but baseline cut happened this time because defense was overplaying too much. So offensively, we realized that we can make that backdoor cut very easily from the corner. Again, another situation where we want to utilize a four-man who is able to break people off the dribble very easily. So we want to stretch the floor as much as we can with our shooters. We want to attack to a single side as much as we can. And of course, we want to play different actions after pick and roll as well to create scoring opportunities. Another scenario where we move the ball, you see that a lot of teams are kind of playing pack defense, backline defense on our league. So they force us to shoot the ball all the time. So we create those opportunities for our shooters. In a situation where we move the ball, try to find the right player, but we also knowing, like defensively, they know that we're going to end up with a pick and roll. We have some before and after pick and roll actions that utilizes us to score easily. It's one of those actions where we score very easily right now from the wing. We move the ball, try to create those cuts and easy scoring options. Before and after scenarios that you can come up with from the pick and roll situation that would allow you to score easily. Now, the rest of the videos are going to be from, so this is Olympic games, Olympic qualifier games from different national teams. You are going to see a lot of ball movement and a lot of easy pick and roll actions happening. And I want you to focus on, from now on, whether the ball goes to a single side, double side, triple side, or empty side. And after that, I want you to focus on the patterns that the people usually, the off-the-ball players, where do they usually position themselves? 4 men inside, 4 men outside. 5 men inside at the block, or 5 men at the short corner. Or 2 men outside, 3 men outside, 4 players are outside, or 5 players are outside after a pick. I want you to look at those scenarios from now on. This situation, ball movement happens, and an ball attacks to a 3-man side, and you shoot the ball, stretches the floor, knocks it down 3 very easily. So pick and roll happened. Second pick and roll happening. Attacking ball attacks to a 3-man side, which 4-man gets that. Gets that very easily. Now, let's take a look at the EuroLeague. EuroLeague men's. How is it looking on this side? You are going to see a way better movement here, of course. But the very first clip that we saw right now, right here. First screen happens, they attack to a single side. Very early in the shot clock, 18 seconds left. They attack to a single side. They pop. They got what they wanted. They didn't want to use it. But the movement afterwards is, so they are going to attack to a triple side this time. And a 4-man is stretching. Now, what you see is actually on this side, Fenerbahce players are trying to get big as they can and try to make any kind of passing angle, but you see that there's a 3-on-2 already established on the ball side. So you have a bunch of other clips. So this time they are going to attack to a double side corner. Backdoor cut happened, didn't work, but this time they are going to happen to a corner, empty side. Eventually they found that 3. So I want to run that sequence one more time because one of those actions that I like the most. That just shows you how much even at the professional level that the teams like to utilize one simple pick and roll action where they force the defensive team to consistently move, scramble, consistently rotate, consistently run through, and putting them into different spacing patterns in one action. So they attack to a double side, they attack to a single side, they attack to a 3 side, an empty side. They use every single pattern. Again, this is a 2-man side. There's a reject happen, force defense. Of course, these are very high-level executions happening right now, very good making happening right now. But I want you to focus on the spacing pattern right now. As you see, single side, double side ended up with a single side, double side, attacking, single side, end up with a double side, now ends up with a double side again. But a baseline cut happens, which opens up a lot of different offensive players. A lot of good ball movement here. A lot of, most important, a lot of off the ball movement here. That spaces the floor up, forces the offensive team to rotate badly. So it's happening in a way that 2-man side backdoor cut happens, creates a lot of gap for a ball handler to make that pull-up jumper. A lot of different strategy. 2-man side opens up. A lot of good ball movement here. Single side with a good defense turns into 3-man side attack with a roll option. Now, questions to ask. After all that, I tried to give you an idea of how I see pick and roll actions happening, how the teams are trying to align themselves in what location and what kind of spacing patterns. Now, from now on, I think every coach can ask the questions themselves. How do you design your pick and roll offense? Where do you want your pick and roll to happen? What kind of spacing patterns do you prefer to use and why? And how many different spacing patterns do you have in your offensive playbook? What are the criteria and decision-making process do you go through to decide which pick and roll spacing patterns do you want to run throughout the season? And what is your teaching strategy and how do you teach these pick and roll spacing patterns throughout the season? And I think if you're able to answer all these questions, you are going to have a very strong template in your hand, and you would design your drills, those decision-making drills that we went through. You are going to design your own drills, and you're going to be able to execute whatever you want to execute. That was it from my end. I hope I was able to explain myself in a way that everybody is able to understand. Thank you very much again.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Coach. If there are any questions, let me know, please. Raise your hand or send message on chat. Aris. Yes, let me unmute you. Christian.
That was a great presentation. I was wondering what type of spacing patterns would you prefer for a team that is not has not such a great shooters, and especially for juniors.
Junior.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for asking. When you say non-shooters, are they wing players or post players?
Wing players.
Wing players.
In your opinion, of course, what is your ideal?
I mean, honestly, for example, this past season, my team struggled to shoot the ball very hard. So we ended up going to nationals, playing our first game. 3 players were sagging big time, so playing pack line defense, sagging big time. So we were trying to create something to create something outside. We got a lot of outside shots. We missed them all, unfortunately. But in terms of creating spacing patterns, I think I'm trying to find that. Sorry. So let's say triple side, non-shooters.
Okay.
Or okay. I think this is way better, this one. If I have the non-shooters individual, let's say my ball handler is good, my post player is very good rolling and finishing, but let's say other players are not necessarily good. What most of the time individuals, what I see in almost all the time is, so let me go through here. So instead of, so 4-man positioning is great. So what she needs to do is, let's say she's not going to be able to shoot, right? But she's going to make this quick roll here to her elbow. So what you will want is the 4-man to space out a little. Now, how are we going to fix the issue of these players are not being able to shoot? If they can shoot, unfortunately, I don't have any solution for that too much, but where should we position them in a way that they are going to be effective enough? So what, for example, when I was trying to edit yesterday, I watched Real Madrid Fenerbahce game. Real Madrid put their 4s and 5s right underneath the basket, right here. Okay. 4 is here, 5 is here. So they run one of those single down screens. So the 3-man comes off this down screen. 5-man, he set the screen and roll to that dunk spot, right? So 4 and himself in a way spaced out and two spaced out. So they were in a 3 out, 2 in, but drive and kick situation. Now, Real Madrid is a bad example because they have a lot of good shooters. But what they did, instead of creating some kind of a shooting opportunity, they created drive and kick opportunity. Sometimes because they spaced in a way where they force defense not to be able to rotate properly. I don't know if it is if it was a good answer for you, but I am going to.
I understand. Thank you.
So position players in a way where there are spots close to the rim, dunk spot they call, those areas or blocks, and get into a good drive and kick situation where you force consistent bad rotations.
I understand. Thank you.
If there are another question, let me know, please. No, thank you so much again. Appreciate that. That was so nice presentation about pick and roll teaching progression. Everybody stay tuned on Facebook. I will share this presentation on the YouTube channel and also Facebook page. And if it is possible, send me this PowerPoint to share for all coaches. Same
Definitely, I'll send you.
yeah.
I'll send you the PowerPoint right after.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, all. Stay safe, coach.
Thank you very much. You guys as well. If anyone has a question, please feel free to send me an email.
Thank you. Stay safe, all. Have a good time.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.